Hi everybody, welcome to my FI journey. I am Saul, looking to be financially independent by December of 2026. It's almost the end of 2021, and in today's video, I wanted to talk to you about the things I wish I had known in my 30s with regards to money management. So, without further ado, let's get to it. I'm gonna need you to come in on Saturday. Show me the money. And welcome back to my FI journey, where today I am talking about the things I wish I had known in my 30s with regards to money management. Now, in my 30s, I was able to get my income to start growing at a faster pace. I think in the 30s was when I really got that exponential growth in my salary. And because I didn't really have a plan, a financial plan for any excess income, I did what most of Americans do, which is follow the American way, which means you earn more than you can spend more. And I basically was spending it, pretty much all of it. So the first thing that I wish I had known in my 30s is obviously just because you're making more money doesn't mean you got to spend more money. Specifically with me in my situation, I fell into that loophole of changing a vehicle or vehicles every 3 years. So it wasn't, and I wasn't leasing them. I mean, I did do one lease, which was the most expensive car that I've owned. But for the most part, like every 3 years, I would just get a new car. Because for me, it was getting to the point where the maintenance fees and, I had to take the car more often to get something fixed or something looked at in addition to the scheduled maintenance. That to me at that point, I figured I can just afford a new car that's not going to have, as many problems, mechanical problems or what have you type of problems. That to me, it was just easier to say, you know what, I'm just going to trade this one in, get a newer one with less problems. So that's what I started doing in my 30s. And that's obviously not the way to go, specifically if you want to become financially independent, because I mean, I'm 45 right now and I'm still paying for my car basically. So I've been paying for a car for 25 years. And I only have two cars. So that's not a good way to do it. Now this is the last car that I'm going to have payments on. I'm going to run those cars until they drop. And at that point, then I will have enough money to just go ahead and buy a car, not get into any payments. But specifically, you don't really need a fancy car. Maybe you do need to replace a car, right? Maybe your car is at the end of its life. You got to replace it. You don't need a fancy car. You just need a car that works. Because at the end of the day, what do you really want that car for? For the most part, it's just going to be for you to go back and forth from work, maybe take your kids to whatever their, school or whatever their extracurricular activities are. It's not going to make a difference if you have a $50,000 car versus a $6,000 car. It's going to do the same thing. Traffic is not going to be any different, right? Just because you're driving a $60,000 car, cars in front of you are not going to move away so that you can go through. It's not going to happen, right? So you don't need a fancy car. All you need is something to get you from point A to point B. And any type of car will do that for you. So that would be my recommendation. I wish I had known that versus trying to keep up with the Joneses, and just because I had more money, I was able to spend more money and I would go with the more expensive, fancier cars. Total waste of time and money, specifically total waste of money. Second thing I wish I had known in my 30s is that I should have had a plan for the money, right? I should have had a specific allocation that I should have had my money towards, right? Specifically, an emergency fund, maybe perhaps even a vacation fund, and most definitely an investing fund. I wish I had started investing, as I told you, back in my 20s, which I didn't really start doing until my 40s. But if you give every single dollar you have a job, right? Like this dollar or this $20 are going to go to my emergency fund. And this $50 is going to go to my vacation fund. And, the $5 that I have left are going to go to my investment fund. You need to do that. That's what I wish I had known, because that way you're going to have, obviously you're going to have your emergency fund covered. If you decide to go on vacation, you're not going to have to put that on a credit card. Or if you do, so that you can get the miles, you're going to have the money available to pay that off, the same month instead of accruing any interest. But also it just keeps you in the habit of doing what we call dollar cost averaging when it comes to investing, because you're going to be doing it every week, every 2 weeks, twice a month, however you got paid. If you start setting aside specific amounts of money with a specific job assigned to it, you're going to get into that cycle of just doing it because you're supposed to, and in the long run, that's going to bring in huge benefits. So give every dollar, every money, or every bucket of money a specific task. The other nice thing about doing that is if you keep separate your emergency fund from your investing fund, and this is a lot that I've seen, a lot of people are asking in a lot of podcasts that I've been listening is, interest rates are really low. Should I move my emergency fund into the stock market where I can get a better return? I do not like that. Specifically, it's December 22nd right now. On Monday, December 20th, we had a huge drop in the market. If I had moved my emergency fund to the stock market on Friday, let's say Friday the 17th, and then I would have seen that huge dip that it took on Monday, I would have freaked out. Why? Because now it's my emergency fund that's being affected. So what I would have done at that point is freak out, sell at a loss, just so that I can recoup as much as I could from my emergency fund, which would not be, 5% down from what it was just 3 days ago. So that's why I like to keep them separate. Emergency funds are for unexpected emergencies, not for investing, because the whole purpose of having that emergency fund is so that you can have it liquid and immediate. And yes, obviously it's not gonna have the potential growth as if you put it on the stock market, but it's also not going to have that risk of those 1 to 2 day dips that the stock market can have. And if you keep them separate, then emotions start to go out the window. Like, you don't have to worry about the stock market dipping. That it's what it's supposed to do. It goes down and up throughout the year, but in the long run it's going to go up. But in an emergency, you're going to need the money now. You're not going to need the money in 1 year or 5 years. So that's why I like to keep those buckets separate and just don't mix them. So that's number two. Number three thing that I wish I had known in my 30s is the actual cost of buying and selling a home. I didn't really learn this until maybe 5 years ago. I thought the cost was just, the 20% down or whatever percent down you would put in for your loan, and then how much you were going to spend on taxes and insurance, right? And obviously your principal and your interest. But I wasn't really paying attention to the seller fee, the buyer agent fee, the closing costs. I didn't really understand, and I wasn't really paying attention to any of that. It took me to go through this process 5 times, buying or selling a home 5 times, before I actually realized how much money was going out the window in commission fees and closing costs. Had I just stayed put in my very first or maybe my second home, I would be well better off right now. I mean, we're talking, close to $100,000, maybe more, of money that just gone through, through commission fees and closing costs alone. So that's something to really keep in mind. If you are in your 20s or 30s, you don't have to go and buy your forever home. You don't even have to go buy a home, really. I mean, it's not, people have been saying renting is wasting your money. It's not really wasting your money. I mean, I don't see homes anymore as an investment because, right now prices are going up. But if you're going to sell, you're still got to go live somewhere, right? So if you're in the position where you want to be in a home, the money that you're going to be making out of the house that you're selling, you're going to have to dump it into the house that you're going to go buy. So it's not really an investment in my eyes. It's more of just a necessity, right? It's more of an essential, right? Housing. You can rent. You don't have to own a home. Besides, if you rent, you can rely on the maintenance team or whoever's going to be taking care of that home for you. You don't have to worry about expenses on the home. That's another cost of owning a home, not just the buying and selling, but just the upkeep of the home, right? I mean, that can go changing the windows, depending on how big your home is. I mean, that can be all the way up to 70 grand easily. So So understand, what it really costs to buy and sell a home and also to own a home. So that's number 3. And then number 4, and I'm still struggling a little bit with this one, but it's better, or at least more financially responsible, to repair something than to replace something. Pretty easy example. If you get a flat tire, you replace the tire, you don't get a new car, right? If a door in your house doesn't close or open properly, you don't sell the house, you just either replace the door or fix the door. And notice how I'm still having a little bit of trouble, because I immediately went to replacing the door versus fixing the problem, fixing the door. So it's for the most part, it's better to just fix something than to replace it. Now, there's a couple of instances where it might not be as effective or efficient to repair something rather than replace it. So for example, let's say you have a really old dishwasher, I don't know, maybe 15-year-old, and the life expectancy of dishwashers right now is maybe, let's say, just 10 years old, right? So at that point, it's pretty much towards the end of its life, even 5 years over the expected end of life. So it's probably more efficient, financially speaking, to replace the dishwasher that's going to last you another 10 years or whatever the warranty gives you, where you're going to have peace of mind that it's going to be working for X number of years, versus repairing it. And also on a 15-year-old piece of equipment or appliance, the parts are probably not that readily available anymore. So they're probably more expensive. The cost of repairing it, it's probably only going to be a couple $100 lower than to replace the whole appliance. And there's really no guarantee that, next month or in a couple of months, something else is going to go wrong with that same appliance, right? Maybe something with the water pressure on the dishwasher went off, and then the next thing that's going to happen is maybe it no longer dries, right? Something like that. So at that point, depending on the situation, it's probably more efficient to repair or replace in total. But for the most part, look at the possibility of just repairing something. Case in point with me, I gave you the car example. Obviously, it wasn't the tire that I got a flat tire and replaced the car, but I was having problems with the car back in my early 30s. And I just said, you know what, I don't have time for this. I don't want to deal with it. Let's just trade it in for a new car that's not going to have this issue. Obviously, that prolonged it. I mean, I was probably maybe 6 months away from fully paying that car. So what did I do? I ended up getting into another 5-year term of paying yet another car that was even more expensive. So now my monthly payments were going to be more for another 5 years. And yeah, I fixed the issue, but I would have probably spent maybe, I don't know, even if it was, let's say, $1,000 into fixing the problem, I would have had a paid off car in 6 months without having to continue making payments for yet another 5 years. So anyway, those are the 4 things that I wanted to talk to you that I wish I had known in my 30s that would have helped me tremendously reach financial independence way sooner than before I turned 50. So if you found this information useful, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to my channel in case you haven't done so yet, so that anytime I come up with a new video, you get alerted. Pretty soon I'm going to be talking a little bit more about what the whole year in review was for me, what my strategy was this year, what emotions I had throughout the year with the ups and downs of the stock market, and just give you a little bit of inside information as to why I think I'm still on the right path, what my plan is, and how that's going. So I'm probably going to release that sometime before the new year, so sometime before next Friday. So stay tuned, and until next time.